We'll look now at a very interesting 18th century periodical in an 18th century binding. It was issued in 1796. It was called the Universal Magazine, published in London. And we start off, for instance, here with a very excellent frontispiece of a young maiden. The volume contains 6 monthly issues that are packed with all manner of commentary about a wide range of topics. And it also has some images and engraved plates, which I will show as we flip through it. There are several of these English county maps within it. They're all engraved by B. Baker. He did all of the plates for this periodical over a period of years, or I should say the majority of them. This one, some of these views were done by others, but all the maps were done by him, as well as many of the engraved images, like that frontis was done by him. There's East Riding of Yorkshire. Okay. Here is another engraved view in Buckinghamshire. And I'll just flip through to see if we encounter any more plates and maps. Here we've got West Riding of Yorkshire. And let's see. I think this final map is part of West Riding of Yorkshire again. Different part, huh? And let's see. There is a list at the back here, to the binder actually, plates. And in collating this volume, I noticed that it's incomplete, although I did notice some of the plates are lacking. This has 9 plates that are, it's called for, I believe. There's, I think it's lacking, I don't know, 4 or 5 plates or something, as is often the case. But there are numerous articles in here that I just randomly identified. For instance, just by flipping through it, I noticed on page 47, there's this long article here about Henry Weston, who was executed for a forgery on the Bank of England. And this is quite a lengthy, detailed article about somebody involved in financial fraud in 18th century England, which is an unusual topic and interesting to numismatists. On page 174 here, I noticed that there is a very long, in-depth article about the customs and manners of the northern Indians on the border of Hudson's Bay, which that's also very, this is here, great influence of supposed conjurers, their detestation of murder, their idea of beauty, how they treat their wives, the plurality of wives, virtues of their women, the shocking depravity of the southern Indians. Very interesting account. Okay, let's see now what else I've identified here on page, on page 330 there, and this is not everything that's in here. This is just 10-15 minutes of just thumbing through it. Here's an account of the earthquake felt in various parts of England on November 18th, 1795, with some observations thereon. Well, that's a very interesting early description of earthquakes in English that goes on extensively. Like, that's an extensive discussion of earthquakes. And it's continued, actually, in the next issue, which is in here. Perhaps most significant, however, I noticed that on page 347 is the full transcript of the address of George Washington on his resignation of the presidency of the United States to the people. And this address here, you'll notice, appears in November of 1796, and it's the entire speech that he gave verbatim. It goes on for several pages. And you'll notice that he gave it September 17th of 1796. So barely took 4 to 6 weeks or so for it to appear in print in London. I think that's very interesting. On page 425, there is an absolutely fascinating description of a movable table for the use of engravers, for which a gold medal was given to the inventor, Joseph Longhi of Monza. And here is the engraved plate that shows this movable table. And it is very unusual to find in print descriptions relating to the art of engraving and how it's done and facts about it, etc. Very interesting. And it's followed right away by the fascinating power of serpents in parts of Africa. So that article is followed by one about snakes in Africa. Really interesting. And so on. There's a very early owner's inscription here. It's got the original marbled boards. The spine is worn, but still the binding is intact because of the excellent superior method of sewing. And this volume is currently now available on my website, briandimambro.com.